The ambush on Assam Rifles personnel in Ukhrul district of Manipur on July 6, 2026 marks yet another grim episode in the ongoing cycle of violence that has gripped the region, particularly in Tangkhul Naga-dominated areas. Two personnel from the 40 Assam Rifles warrant officer Balwant Singh and Havildar C.M. Singh, who was serving as the driver, lost their lives when militants attacked their convoy along National Highway 202 near Noungshong Kong village under Ukhrul police station. The attack reportedly involved gunfire and possibly improvised explosive devices, triggering a prolonged exchange of fire that lasted nearly 2 hours, according to local accounts. Security forces responded swiftly, rushing to the site and initiating search and area domination operations in the surrounding terrain. No group claimed immediate responsibility for the strike, which has become a familiar pattern in such incidents, where deniability allows insurgent networks to operate without direct accountability. This incident unfolded against a backdrop of simmering ethnic tensions between the Kuki-Zo communities and Tangkhul Nagas in Ukhrul and adjacent districts like Kamjong. Since early February 2026, clashes had already claimed at least 25 lives from both sides, stemming from an alleged assault in Leeton that escalated into widespread arson gunfights and displacement. Ukhrul, a hill district with a strong Tangkhul Naga presence, has seen Kuki villages and settlements come under pressure amid competing claims over land resources and political influence. From the perspective of communities long marginalized in mainstream narratives, the ambush fits into a larger strategy where armed elements seek to assert dominance while security operations appear unevenly applied. Kuki voices have repeatedly highlighted concerns that while operations target their areas extensively, Naga insurgent activities, especially those linked to established groups, receive comparatively less scrutiny, allowing militants to move through border regions and villages with apparent ease. Initial reactions reflected the deep divisions. Members of the Kuki community pointed to the need for impartial security measures, emphasizing that groups such as the National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Muivah, faction its purported eastern flank elements, and others like the Zeliangrong United Front Kamsan group operate across sensitive zones, including Sinakathel, Sarekong Thoyi, and Lainganching. These areas have witnessed alleged militant movements that exacerbate fears among local populations. In contrast, the Nscn issued a denial, distancing itself from the attack and suggesting it might be the work of a breakaway faction. The group reiterated its commitment to ongoing Indo-Naga political negotiations, stating it had no knowledge of the incident and would not undermine peace efforts. Such denials, however, ring hollow against the historical record of ambushes and operations in Tangkhul heartlands, where the group maintains significant influence. Digging deeper into the context reveals a complex web of ethnic, historical, and strategic factors. Ukhrul and its surrounding hills have long been contested spaces. Tangkhul Nagas form the dominant community with deep cultural and political ties to broader Naga aspirations. Yet Kuki-Zo settlements have coexisted in these areas for generations, with kinship networks extending across the porous India-Myanmar border. Past clashes in the 1990s between Nagas and Kukis left lasting scars involving mass displacement and violence that echoed patterns seen today. The current flare-up since February 2026 began with localized disputes, but quickly transformed into organized confrontations involving village volunteers, defense committees, and suspected militants from both sides. Houses were burned, civilians killed, and highways disrupted, creating a climate of fear and mutual suspicion. In this environment, the July 6th ambush cannot be viewed in isolation. The location near a strategic highway in a Tangkhul-dominated zone points toward actors familiar with the terrain and capable of coordinated strikes. While factional rivalries within Naga groups, such as tensions between the main Nscn and eastern flank splinters, have led to internal clashes earlier in 2026, including killings in Kamjong that sparked mob violence in Ukhrul, the ambush on state forces suggests a different calculus. It serves to intimidate security personnel, deter aggressive patrolling, and send a message amid ongoing ethnic mobilization. For Kuki communities, this reinforces perceptions of selective impunity, where Naga armed networks continue parallel governance, extortion, and recruitment, even as talks proceed at higher levels. The role of Assam Rifles and other security forces adds another layer of complexity. As the primary counterinsurgency and border guarding unit in the region, the force has faced accusations from multiple sides. Tangkhul women have protested against outposts, citing harassment and unauthorized establishments, leading to confrontations where injuries occurred. Kuki perspectives, on the other hand, often allege that forces exhibit bias by focusing operations disproportionately on their villages, while allowing Naga militants sanctuary or freedom of movement in core areas. This perceived unevenness fuels resentment and hampers trust-building efforts. Chief Minister Yumnam Kemchand Singh and other leaders condemned the ambush, offering condolences and pledging justice. But ground realities show that condemnations alone fail to address systemic issues of intelligence, sharing, impartial enforcement, and community engagement. Expanding the analysis requires examining the broader insurgency landscape in Manipur and the northeast. Groups like the Nscn have historically combined political negotiations with ground-level activities, including taxation on goods and resources control over border trade routes and maintenance of armed cadres. The Eastern Flank faction, emerging from internal dissent, has been linked to monitoring timber and other businesses along the Myanmar border, where lucrative opportunities intersect with ethnic loyalties. Earlier incidents in March 2026 involving the killing of Eastern Flank cadres highlighted these rifts with retaliatory actions such as the torching of offices, underscoring how factionalism spills into public violence. In such a milieu, an ambush on Assam Rifles could stem from efforts to protect these economic interests or to escalate pressure during periods of heightened Kuki-Naga friction. Land and identity politics lie at the heart of these conflicts. Competing claims over resources in the hills have intensified with demographic shifts, migration, and political assertions. Kuki-Zo communities emphasize their indigenous rights and historical presence, arguing that dominance by one group threatens coexistence. Naga assertions of homeland often encompass wider territories, creating friction in mixed areas like Lytton. The February trigger, a brawl involving youths, escalated because underlying grievances were not addressed promptly. Subsequent events, including abductions of civilians from one community, hostage crises, and attacks on villages, illustrate how quickly localized disputes can spiral. Cross-border elements from Myanmar add volatility with arms, flows, training, and kinship networks, sustaining militant capacities on both sides, though narratives differ sharply depending on the source. From a standpoint focused on the voiceless and marginalized, the Kuki experience highlights systemic neglect. Mainstream coverage often reduces complex ethnic dynamics to generic militant ambushes, overlooking the human stories of displacement, loss, and resilience. Platforms dedicated to Chin Kuki Mizo narratives have consistently documented patterns of aggression, intimidation, and unequal treatment. In Ukhrul, the concentration of security efforts in certain pockets while others remain permissive raises questions about strategic priorities. If forces are stretched thin or influenced by local power structures, the result is a security vacuum exploited by armed actors. This not only endangers personnel like the two who fell on July 6th, but perpetuates cycles that claim civilian lives disproportionately. The economic dimensions cannot be ignored. Control over highways, border trade, timber, and other resources provide sustenance to insurgent economies. Ambushes disrupt normalcy, allowing parallel systems to thrive. In Tangkhul areas, established networks have long operated with a degree of de facto authority. When security forces attempt area domination, they encounter resistance framed as defense of homeland. For Kuki settlements in the vicinity, this creates a pincer effect where both militants and uneven policing threaten daily life. Reports of villages burned, volunteers killed, and essential supplies restricted paint a picture of humanitarian strain that demands urgent attention beyond routine condemnations. Politically, the incident tests the state and central government's approach to the northeast. Ongoing Indo-Naga talks provide a framework for one set of aspirations, but fail to encompass the multiplicity of ethnic realities in Manipur. Suspension of operations agreements with certain groups have been criticized for selective application, leading to accusations of favoritism. The Manipur government, under its current leadership, has attempted outreach, including visits to Ukhrul, but trust deficits run deep. Incidents like the July ambush undermine these efforts, signaling that ground actors prioritize dominance over dialogue. A comprehensive peace architecture must integrate all communities, addressing Kuki-Zo concerns alongside Naga ones rather than treating them as peripheral. Looking ahead, accountability for the Ukhrul ambush remains paramount. Thorough investigations free from political interference must identify perpetrators and their networks. Intelligence-led actions targeting all illegal armed groups irrespective of affiliation are essential. Community confidence building through transparent dialogues, joint peace committees and equitable development can help de-escalate. The porous border demands better management with focus on curbing arms smuggling and unauthorized movements, while respecting legitimate cross-border ties. Central intervention may be necessary to enforce impartiality and prevent further fragmentation of Manipur. This ambush is not merely a security incident, but a symptom of unresolved historical contradictions in the northeast. Post-colonial nation-building has often overlooked the aspirations of diverse hill communities, leading to insurgencies and ethnic assertions. In Manipur, the layering of Meitei Kuki-Naga and other dynamics creates a tinderbox where one spark ignites wider fires. The Tangkhul-dominated hills of Ukhrul exemplify this with their strategic location, cultural richness, and contested politics. For Kuki-Zo people, the struggle is for survival, dignity, and recognition amid powerful narratives that sideline their voices. Ultimately, truth-seeking demands acknowledging patterns beyond official statements. The denial by dominant groups, the location of the attack, and the context of ethnic mobilization all point toward entrenched actors with capacity and motive. Justice for the fallen soldiers and affected civilians requires confronting these realities rather than managing symptoms. Only by addressing root causes, land rights, political representation, security, impartiality, and economic disparities can lasting peace emerge. The hills have witnessed enough bloodshed. The time for genuine reconciliation grounded in equity and accountability is long overdue. As communities continue to navigate these challenges, the hope remains that future generations inherit stability rather than cycles of ambush and retaliation. Expanding further on the historical trajectory underscores the persistence of these issues. Decades of insurgency in Nagaland and Manipur have created overlapping claims and armed infrastructures that adapt to ceasefires without fully disarming. The Nscn-IM's evolution from militant outfit to political negotiator has not eliminated its ground influence, particularly in Tangkhul regions, where loyalty to the cause remains strong. Factional splits like the eastern flank reflect internal power struggles over resources and strategy, yet they often realign against common perceived threats. In this setting, Kuki communities find themselves navigating a landscape where their security concerns are frequently subordinated to larger Naga frameworks. Recent years have seen intensification due to the broader Manipur ethnic violence since 2023. While initial clashes centered on Valley Hill divides the spillover into Naga Kuki zones in Ukhrul, Kamjong, and Kangpokpi has created new fault lines. Village defense groups on both sides, ostensibly for protection, have blurred lines between civilian and combatant roles, increasing risks of miscalculation. The July ambush amid such mobilization suggests calculated escalation, possibly to test resolve or shift force deployments. Security analysts note that such strikes serve multiple purposes, from resource assertion to narrative dominance. Human rights dimensions are critical. Reports of injuries to women during protests, arbitrary detentions and civilian casualties call for oversight mechanisms. Impartial probes into all incidents, whether the ambush or preceding village attacks, are necessary to build credibility. International and national human rights bodies have at times highlighted Northeast issues, but sustained focus remains limited. Local media and community platforms play vital roles in documenting truths often absent from national coverage, which tends to generalize conflicts as law and order problems. Economically, the region suffers from disrupted agriculture, trade and education. Highways like NH202 are lifelines, yet become battlegrounds. Blockades and ambushes exacerbate poverty and migration. Long-term solutions must include infrastructure development that benefits all communities without favoring one. Tourism, cultural exchanges and skill programs could foster interdependence, reducing zero-sum mindsets. In conclusion, the Ukhrul ambush of July 6, 2026 encapsulates the multifaceted challenges of ethnicity, insurgency and governance in Manipur. Starting from the specific attack and tracing through historical ethnic dynamics, security complexities and human impacts reveals a need for holistic approaches. Kuki-Zo perspectives emphasize justice and equity as prerequisites for peace. As search operations continue and investigations unfold, the broader imperative is to move beyond blame games towards structures that honor diversity and uphold rule of law. The sacrifices of security personnel remind us of the stakes, while civilian suffering demands that peace not remain elusive. Only through persistent truth-seeking dialogue and accountable action can the hills transition from conflict to coexistence. This analysis, grounded in available patterns and community realities, spans the immediate event to structural roots, underscoring the urgency of resolution in one of India's most complex regions. Sources: official statements from relevant government agencies and security authorities, reports from local journalists and eyewitness accounts, information gathered from publicly available news reports and regional media, historical records and publicly accessible documents related to the conflict, independent research and contextual analysis conducted by Zalinga Media. Disclaimer: this video is produced for the purposes of news reporting, public education, historical documentation, and analysis. The opinions, assessments, and conclusions presented are based on available information at the time of production and are intended to encourage informed discussion. New evidence or official findings may change the understanding of events. Some video clips, photographs, maps, and other visual materials used in this production may not be the property of Zalinga Media. Such materials are used under the principles of fair use, fair dealing for commentary, criticism, news reporting, education, and documentary purposes. All copyrights remain the property of their respective owners. If you are the rightful owner of any content and believe its use requires attention, please contact us for prompt review and appropriate action. Subscribe to Zalinga Media. If you value independent reporting, historical research, and in-depth analysis on the Chin Kuki-Zo people in Northeast India, please support our work by subscribing to Zalinga Media, liking this video, sharing it with others, and turning on the notification bell so you never miss our latest reports. Your support helps us continue to be the voice of the voiceless. Thank you for watching Zalinga Media.